Good morning, Aldersley. Happy Friday. It's already the end of another week, and it's been a really good week too. It's been great to see lots of you engaging in your lessons on Teams, and there's been a really high standard of work produced as well. It's also been really good to see lots of you tweeting us with your work so that we can see exactly what you've been doing, so keep that up as well. Make sure you have a break this weekend, ready to start again on Monday. Before we move on to our assembly today, I just wanted to take a moment to think about the challenges that Mr. Richardson had set for you yesterday. And the first one was from the coping calendar, and it was really difficult. It was to try and have a tech-free day. And we are all trying to learn online at the moment, so that was really hard. But I was really pleased to see some of the year 7 and 8 who were managing to find a little way around that. We'll have a look at that in a moment. The main theme of the assembly was also about Ramadan, and it was really nice to see some of you telling us what that means to you as well. So here's some examples of some year 7s and 8s who, instead of just typing away their work like they might do normally, were using notebooks and their highlighters for their knowledge books and remembering what it's like to pick up a pen rather than just using technology. So well done, Libby, Ellie and Molly. The active coping calendar for today, the 24th of April, is asking us to put our worries into perspective and to try to let them go. Well, how can that help our happiness? Well, the answer to that question is in this quote. Worrying does not take away tomorrow's troubles. It takes away today's peace. And what that means is, if we're worrying about something that might never happen, it doesn't solve a problem, but it does create us another problem today. It might affect the way that we concentrate. It might affect whether we can focus on our learning. It might even affect our behaviour towards other people. So if there is something you're worrying about today, it's important to do something about it. You need to decide if it really is something that you need to worry about or not. So put it in perspective. If you're worrying about something that might never happen, then that's probably something that you can forget about. But if you are concerned, if you feel that you really do have a worry and that that is a problem, then you need to speak to somebody about it today. You will feel better immediately, and it will also then solve a problem for tomorrow. If you need to speak to somebody, you know that we are all online during the day, and the email addresses you need are at the end of this PowerPoint. Moving on to the main assembly for today then, and our theme today is why does our behaviour matter? So what is behaviour then? Well, our behaviour is the way that we act in situations. And in different situations, we might act in a completely different way. It also sometimes really depends on the people that we're with, doesn't it? But our behaviour is also how we act towards others. And it's important because it is like a chain of dominoes. And I'm sure you've probably played this game in the past where you stack dominoes alongside each other, sometimes in a pattern. And if you push one, it knocks all the others down. And our behaviour is just like a chain of dominoes that we've stacked. It has a knock-on effect. And if we show positive behaviour, it has a positive impact and a positive knock-on effect on other people. For example, when we are kind to other people, it might help that person to have a good day. When we smile at somebody else, it might comfort them and it might boost their mood, so it has that positive knock-on effect. If we carry out a good deed for another person, it might help them feel cared for. When we reassure another person, it helps them not to worry. And when we try our best in our work, when we turn up on Teams on time for our lessons, it helps us to learn. And the knock-on effect of that is that we can progress. and then we get praise. So just by doing one good deed, or by choosing one act of positive behaviour, or by having a positive attitude to other people, it can have a positive knock-on effect that affects other people in a positive way too. But behaviour, it's also like a house of cards. And maybe this is another game you've played too in the past, where you stack the cards alongside each other and on top of each other to make a structure. If one of those cards isn't quite right, or it's a little bit out of place, then it can cause the whole structure to fall down. Well, why is behaviour also like a house of cards then? It's linked to what we've just said about the domino effect. If one thing is not quite right, if one person's behaviour is not quite where we need it to be, it's not positive, then it can cause a negative impact on everyone else around them. It's the reason that we have laws in our society, so that we all know what's right from wrong, so that we can maintain our standards and that we can all treat each other with respect. It's also the same reason why we have rules in our school. If we all know the correct ways to behave in our lessons and the consequences if we don't meet those standards of behaviour, then it might help our school to keep its structure. It's also the reason why we are trying our best to work and learn online, isn't it? We're trying to keep things going. We're trying to maintain those standards. It's also the reason why when we are leaving the house, we're following the social distancing measures that are being asked of us. We know that by following the rules, by only leaving the house for those certain reasons, that hopefully it means that one day we can all go back to school and have some more sense of normality, whatever that normality might look like. But what if we make a mistake with our behaviour? What if we choose the wrong way to behave, or perhaps we don't treat somebody in the way that we know we should have done? Perhaps we're that card that's not quite in the right place and we have a negative impact on everyone else around us. It's really important to remember that every new day is a second chance. And just because we've made a mistake with our behaviour in the past doesn't mean that we can't try and choose the correct behaviours moving forward and try and think more clearly about how we can have a positive impact on everyone else around us. So remember, if you've made a mistake, you can apologise, you can try and put it right, but more importantly, try and learn from it. And remember that you will always have a second chance as long as you are willing to take it. So what can we do, all of us, to further improve our behaviour in the choices that we make so that we are a positive domino effect rather than being the card that causes the house to fall? It's important to be honest with yourself. If you aren't happy with your behaviour, you can admit it and think about what you can do differently. You might want to get to know those weaknesses and think about how you can improve on them. What is it that causes your behaviour sometimes to maybe not be as good as it could be? But equally, you could find out your strengths and know how those strengths help you to behave in a positive manner, and make sure that you're really focusing it on them instead. Remember that it's okay to ask for help. So don't be afraid to look for guidance from your friends, your family members and your teachers about how you can move forward more positively. And if you have made a mistake with your behaviour, remember that it's okay as long as we learn from it and that we use the second chance that's on offer to us. So I want to finish today's assembly by setting you our challenges for today. And I know normally we do these at the beginning of our assembly, but I thought it made more sense if we did them at the end today because they're very much linked to the topic that we've just talked through. So my first challenge for you was linked back to, if you remember right at the start, our coping calendar. I want you to write down any worries that you've got. And I want you to decide if you're worrying about a what if. So are you worrying about something that might never happen? If you are, can you put this into perspective? Is it something you can let go? Or if you're not sure if it's a what if or if it's something you do need to be worried about, then you need to speak to somebody that you trust to help you put it in perspective. But it's also important to remember that some worries are real. So if you do need somebody to talk to, remember the email addresses are at the end of this PowerPoint. So that's your first challenge. Write down any worries that you've got and try and put it in perspective. Let it go if you can, but if you need to, then seek help. Your second challenge is I want you to have a positive domino effect today. I want you to do something that has a positive knock-on effect on you, make you feel good about yourself, but also to help somebody else. So can you do something, whatever you want, that has got a positive impact on another person? Remember, it will help their day, it will help their mood, and it will also help you feel good about yourself too. Tweet about it if you feel you can. You can tweet the school or you can tweet me if you want to. And the last challenge, just another way of having a positive domino effect today. When you're in one of your lessons and commenting on Teams and you see another student's work, can you praise it? Can you say something that you like about it? Because that will help to spread positivity. It will have a really strong knock-on effect on other people and how your fellow students feel about themselves and their work. And you never know, your behaviour by choosing to make that positive comment might just really make their day. You could even do that on Twitter. If you see somebody posting their work, perhaps you could comment on it with some praise. So finally, remember I said the email addresses are always at the end of our daily PowerPoints. If you need to speak to somebody, if there really is something that's worrying you and concerning you, please use these email addresses. Remember, we're online from 8 a.m. until 4 p.m. So if there is anything you need to talk about, please do make sure that you get in touch with us, because by solving that problem today, it will help to take away your worries tomorrow. Remember, if there is something that's concerning you outside of those hours, then all the phone numbers and websites and addresses you need are always posted on all of your teams. So that's the end of our assembly today. Have an absolutely fantastic Friday and have an even better weekend.